Something that I've been thinking about recently with my research with this is my research into the effects of marijuana. And really, what is it that, what's the issue here that I think is really most important? I've been studying the effects of the cannabinoids on the system. And it's very interesting that those cannabinoids, we have those receptors very deep in our brains. And what does that mean, really? And what does it mean about our relationship with marijuana if we have it internally? And what does it mean that we have it as an external substance as well? Well, in general, with psychoactive substances, the reason why they're psychoactive is because they do trigger something that is already in us innately. But I think the real issue is that because we have those things in us innately, they don't just get triggered spontaneously for no reason. They get triggered for reasons. And particularly with the cannabinoids, if you think of the kind of effects that marijuana has, a very heightened awareness of what's going on around you, a sense of living in this eternal moment. There are all kinds of different time expansions. There are ways that all of your senses get very, very heightened. And so this is a kind of state that we would naturally get in when we're in a situation of like an initiatory state or a peak experience. The same kind of things get released in us. But what happens when, let's say, if we're rock climbing, we would have that experience. Or something that I've experienced a number of times is surfing. In surfing, many times you can go out surfing and you'll go out onto a wave and it'll look like the wave is going in slow motion, and everything that you're doing looks like it's going in slow motion. I've talked with many surfers and they've all experienced this at one time or another. So it's something that unlocks inside of ourselves. And after you have that experience, whatever it is, it releases a certain kind of a feeling in you because you've achieved something amazing. So I think the issue with taking marijuana as one example, I say this from a shamanic perspective because I've worked in those worlds extensively with shamans in South America, with tantrics in India, with people in the Taoist tradition in Taiwan. They all have different ways of working with these kinds of energy, with these peak experience energies. But the real difference is that if we go through some kind of a shamanic initiation, if we go through some kind of an incredible adventure, peak experience, we've actually done something. And because we've done that, the level of resolve and the level of discipline and the level of audacity and a million other things that it takes to actually do those things creates a foundation for us that then triggers a sense of well-being because we've achieved something. Now, if you contrast that with just smoking a joint, you get a lot of the same feelings. Honestly, people get a lot of the same feelings as if they've accomplished some grand initiatory experience, but it's only in their minds. And so because of that, they don't have a foundation in reality for what they've really achieved and who they are and what's happening with them in the world. And so there's a schism that happens between how the people feel about themselves and what they're actually achieving in the world. And because of that schism, they don't have the foundation that it really takes to really feel the way. So they have inappropriate feeling about themselves, even though that feeling happens to be a good one. But because of the schism, there is a kind of a trauma that's going to take place sooner or later when the difference between what their internal picture is of what's going on with them in their lives collides with the reality. And so if there's an issue around all of this, even at the best, we're not even talking about any of the other side effects. We're talking about the best case scenario. I think that this is really the issue, is that it creates a schism between the feelings that people have about how great they are and the reality of wherever they actually are in the world. And whenever you have a split like that, it's a setup for a very shocking awakening at some point. And what we see all the time is that there's a feedback loop that gets messed with, and the feedback loop goes off and it goes farther and farther off until you have people who are complete fools thinking that they're geniuses. And this is a big, big, big problem. And it's not just a problem for the people themselves, but it's a problem for everybody around them as well. So that's what I've been thinking of lately in the research, and it's a very deep issue because there's a big question in society right now about there's a lot more people smoking marijuana than ever. There are a lot more people taking drugs than ever. And what's really the issue? And I think if we really reduce it all the way down to if there's a fundamental issue or problem with it, I think that's what it is. It creates a schism between the beliefs that a person has about themselves and really actually what they've achieved in this world.